You are smart enough. You are good enough. Value yourself. Value your self-worth. You got to where you are today because you did that. You worked hard. You sought out help. You went to those study groups. You had conversations with certain individuals to keep going, to keep pushing. You had certain faith. You were just being you, and you were doing the best that you knew how, or you know how, if you're going through this right now. Today, my coworker and I, we were looking up different websites because our school is revamping the school website. And my coworker said, well, let me see what some of the other top schools in the US, what their websites look like. So she ended up searching that and found the top school, and it was the Early College at Guilford. And she said, oh, this is the #1 school in the US right now. And I was like, oh, I went there. I went there my 12th grade year. And she was, oh, congratulations, you know, that good for you. That's awesome. And I thought about it. I was like, I did go to that school. You know, that's something I should be proud of. That's an accomplishment. Especially when you grow up and you doubt yourself a lot. You don't think you're smart enough. You don't think you are capable. And the topic came up and I said, you know, I want to talk about this because I'm sure a lot of people out there doubt themselves, or they don't think they're able to do certain things. And I want to say, hey, you know, I did it. You can do it too. You can do whatever you want to do. Set goals. Strive to achieve those goals. Never doubt yourself. Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Byron Brower, and I decided to come and walk in the park. And the topic that I had on my mind was, I wanted to explain how I became, or how I got into one of the top high schools in the United States. It's actually the #1 now, Early College at Guilford. So I'm from North Carolina, and I grew up in a small town called Eagle Springs, North Carolina. And it's actually considered a non-incorporated community if you look it up on Wikipedia. So it's one of those areas where you passing through towns and you see a little spot there. You see a couple houses, one gas station, one post office. And that's where I'm from. But lovely, family oriented, everybody knows each other, and tight-knit community. But 9th grade, I'm gonna jump to high school. So 9th grade, I went to a school called Pinecrest, and I was there 9th and 10th grade. And I was always eager and studied hard and worked hard. And I actually helped some of my family members with tutoring and stuff like that. But the first shift changed when I got all A's on my first report card in 9th grade. And I was like, oh, this feels good. I like this. I like this. Because in middle school, no. I was like, what am I doing with my life? And in high school, I was like, okay, these are things that I have to see what I want to do, because once I get all these good grades, what's after? University? What type of career do I want to have? And so I realized that in order for me to salir adelante, that's an expression in Spanish to say that to get ahead in life, I needed to do that through education, because that's what I saw. That's what I saw working. My sister was a huge influence on my life. She is a nurse now, but I remember working 2 or 3 jobs. She had my niece when she was in high school, and she worked hard, she studied, and she found areas in her life that she wanted to go for. That makes sense. Or she found what she needed to do to be successful. And for her, that was moving to Greensboro, North Carolina, and going to UNC Greensboro, and becoming a nurse. And so I saw, so through education, we can get a better job that pays more, and then we can, break the cycle of poverty, low class, not a lot of opportunities, more white collar jobs, if you will. And I saw that I had to get out of my situation that I was in. And I was living with my mom. And I was just like, I need more. I need something else. I need a different environment. So I said, I want to go live with my sister in Greensboro. And my mom was like, okay, cool, we can get that done. Moved to Greensboro. And I ended up going to a school my 11th grade year called, I think it was Eastern High. A different environment as well. They actually had farm day. And this was the first school that had farm day I had been to. Now I'm from the country, but I don't remember having farm day, where you pet the animals, the goats, the sheep, and stuff like that. And I went there. And I remember my sister kept mentioning this school called Early College. And I was like, what's early college? They were like, oh yeah, it's where you can take university classes and you can graduate with some credit. And so by the time you go to university, you are already, a sophomore or a junior. And I didn't think much of it until one day in Algebra 1 or Algebra 2, a student from Early College had transferred to the school at Eastern. And I remember helping her with our algebra work. And at that age, we get caught up in the stereotypes and the perception, the names of certain schools, the prestige of certain schools. And I was like, wait, you got accepted to Early College? You got to be really smart to go to those type of schools. Why am I helping you in algebra? You should be helping me. And so I did get caught up in that, but I was like, if I'm helping her, then I should be able to qualify to go to this early college. And so I applied to the school, and long story short, I got accepted. Got into the school, and it changed my life. It did. I learned a lot. I learned that you should never doubt yourself, and you should fight for what you believe in, fight for your dreams. And I remember during the application process, it took a while for them to respond, to give me an answer. My sister was like, you better call them to make sure that, so they can see that you're serious and you really want it. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, if I was on the admin team, I'd be like, oh no, this person's getting on my nerves. I'm gonna put them at the end. I don't.
See the heron?
Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see it now. Here, I see the heron. I don't know if you can zoom in. It's not moving. Yeah, it's still. Where was I? Yeah, the application. And I'm like, I'll be annoyed by somebody calling all the time. And so I ended up asking, I was like, is it okay if I keep calling? My sister says, I should keep calling. She's like, and the lady, I forget her name at the time, she was like, no, but it's good that you're calling. It shows that you really want to get this and you're advocating for yourself. and you're following the procedures, we'll contact you whenever we have a response for you. Long story short, got accepted. And my 12th grade year, I went to early college at Guilford. I had a car by then, so I drove. And pretty much how the school works, I don't know if it's still like this, but how it worked when I was there, and I graduated in 2006. It's 9th and 10th grade. You take honors and AP classes, and then 11 and 12th you take classes at the university at Gifford College. And it's a private school, so every class is 4 credit hours. So I graduated with 1 year's worth of credit. And I remember it was very different. It's a Quaker school, liberal. I remember people walking around with no shoes, and I was like, what? Where am I? That was different for me, because I'm like, you can go to school without shoes? Like, you don't have to have shoes on? What is this? And I remember we had a moment of silence. That was the first time I did that. Something had happened. Something was going on politically. And they was like, yeah, we're going to take a moment of silence. And literally, it was like 3 whole silent minutes. And all these new experiences. So by the time I graduated, I was thinking, okay, where can I go to school? So I had applied to Gifford College, got accepted. Applied to UNC Greensboro, got accepted there, because that's where my sister went. I was like, that's familiar. She knows the school. I can ask her for help and things like that. And then UNC Chapel Hill. Now again, remember all the stereotypes and the prestige factor. I only applied to UNC Chapel Hill to see if I could get in. I didn't believe I would get in, because I thought, you know, you had to be really smart to get into these schools, and I sucked at standardized test scores. Oh, my hands are getting cold. I'm gonna have to sit down for a second. Here, I'm gonna spin around. Maybe you can see I'm in a park, a local park. Okay, let me sit down for a second. And I didn't think I would get into UNC Chapel Hill. Now, my SAT scores weren't the best, but best believe I filled out every single essay application, even the optional one. I explained who I was, where I was from, background, what I wanted to do, my intentions. I worked hard, I volunteered, just who I was and what I was trying to do. And now they had responded to me late, so I had already gone to UNCG. I was in the orientation, about to sign up for classes, and then I received a message from UNC Chapel Hill, and they said I got in. And not only that, I got a scholarship, a full ride under the Covenant Scholar program, and it's pretty much where they give you a full ride. I remember I got a laptop, everything you needed to be successful as a student and to not have to worry about finances, especially for first-gen students and low-income students. But you do have to have the merit, you do have to have the grades to support it. And it was a great experience. That's how I got into UNC Chapel Hill. Graduating from early college, having so many credits, depending on what school you go to, the school is either going to put you where you're supposed to be, so you can enter as a junior or sophomore, or like at UNC Chapel Hill, I was a freshman with a lot of credits. So I was able to take 12 credit hours, 12, 13, 14 credit hours comfortably. Oh, got some dogs here. I was able to do that comfortably and not stressed. And it was good because there were moments where I was like, what am I doing? This is rough. Am I smart enough for this stuff? Can I finish? Can I pass these classes? And if you're a Carolina Covenant scholar, don't do summer classes. Don't do summer classes because you're going to get some loans, and the whole point is for you to graduate debt-free. So don't play no games when you're in school and you graduate debt-free. And that's the end goal, y'all. Don't owe anybody anything. And I'm not gonna lie, I did believe that, especially after a year or so, well, I'll say my freshman year in undergrad, I was like, did I really get accepted to here, or they're just trying to meet a quota? And meet a quota meaning the diversity, they need people of color, they need to diversify the university. And looking back now, I don't know if you're somebody that's thinking that now, I would say don't doubt yourself. You got in for a reason. You have people on the admin team. They saw something in you that you probably didn't see in yourself, or you don't see in yourself. But believe in yourself. Don't doubt yourself. And if I could go back and tell my younger self that, that's what I would say. You're here. You're here. You work hard. You did everything possible. Don't think about that. You're here. Be successful. Make the most out of this experience. And so I would say, as a first-gen student, or as a first-generation child, and that's somebody that's gone to university for the first time in your family. So me and my sister were first-generation kids. And my niece would be the second, and then my nephew would be the second, and so forth. But we didn't have people guiding us, telling, or our parents, hey, yeah, do this, do X, Y, Z. You got to do, this is financial aid. This is what that means. You got to have this. You don't really need that because that's just a waste of money. They're going to give you this amount of money. You don't have to take it all because, you know, all those steps I didn't have. But the good thing with the Carolina Covenant Scholars Program is that they sign you up with a mentor. Check in with you. How are you doing? How's everything going? How are your grades? Do you need to meet with such and such? You know, they have counseling services, and that's also another thing. Use those counseling services. Talk to somebody, get all that out, and don't doubt yourself. Establish you a little community. And the people that I have friends from undergrad that I'm still friends with today. In fact, I live like 2 minutes, right now I live 2 minutes from one of my undergrad friends. Her name was Ashante Branch. Shout out to you, Ashante, love you. We made it through. I remember pulling all-nighters at UNC Chapel Hill, the undergrad library. Large classes to the point where my Biology 101 was like 400 students. And that's when I learned the term weed out. Like, you know, you have weeds, you need to weed out certain individuals because a lot of students come in, biology major, chemistry major, the sciences, because everybody want to go to med school. And they're like, we want to see who's really serious or who can really deal with some hard work. And they weeded me out. I was a bio major, and I was like, I need to be taught. And not just, here's a PowerPoint, here's the book, go study. And yeah, so I ended up becoming a sociology major. But I took all the prereqs to go to med school because I wanted to go to medical school. At the time, I wanted to be an anesthesiologist because, believe it or not, they make a lot of money. And you know, when you're that age, it's all about money. But what I can say is now it's not all about money. It's about doing what makes you happy and doing what gives you joy. Something that you're passionate about, something that you can wake up every day and say, I don't mind doing what I'm doing. Okay, I'm gonna keep walking. Because it brings me joy. It brings me joy. So right around the time when I was graduating Chapel Hill, I was burnt out. And I said, you know what? I have no idea what I want to do. I wanted to go to med school. I was like, I'm burnt out. I need a break. And so I had started to look up the idea of becoming a nurse or an optometrist, because I still liked the idea of working in the medical field or the health field. And I even thought about physician assistant, because with physician assistant or PA, you needed like 1,000 work hours in the field. And I had studied to become an EMT. And I believe I started that in UNC Chapel Hill, but I don't know if I finished it, to be honest. Yeah, I think I had to stop. I was doing great. I was passing all the exams and the practices, the practicums, and the things that we had to do, the test. And a summer, I even did EKG tech in CCCC, I believe it was. It was one of the schools down in North Carolina, community college. Passed that exam, and from this, we had to measure our own heartbeats and things like that. And from this, I learned that I have sinus dysrhythmia. And if my memory serves me correctly, that's where when you breathe, your heart has irregular heartbeats. Because you know when you have the beats on the graph, it looks normal and it looks symmetrical. But mine, when I inhale, you know, instead of beep 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 beep, it was beep 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 beep. It was irregular. Turns out it's nothing to worry about. I was like, okay, as long as I'm not dying, as long as everything's good. But I did learn that I had sinus dysrhythmia from this EKG program, EKG tech program. But learned during that during that course, that the machines were slowly replacing EKG techs. You know, all this technology and stuff, machines are doing everything nowadays. But I did do that. And so I wanted to go into the medical field and all this stuff, but I was burnt out, and I said, well, I received an email from a program called ISEC, AIESEC, asking, hey, do you want to go abroad, live abroad? And I was like, yeah. Do you want to learn a different language? I'm like, yeah. Do you want to make a little bit of money while you're helping? I'm like, sure, of course. And I was like, okay, well, let me see what this is about. I applied. And I didn't want to learn a new language because I'd already taken Spanish. Every semester, I took Spanish up until literature and conversation. And I also studied abroad in Chile and Argentina. Chile, I was in Santiago, and then Argentina, I was in Buenos Aires. Lovely host family, and if I ever go back to Buenos Aires, I would love to visit them. I have pictures. I might put a picture up. Lovely family. But I did learn a bit of Spanish. It was hard. Chilean Spanish is difficult if you're learning Spanish, because they have a lot of Chilenismos. They say po a lot. Sí, po. No, po. Claro, po. En serio, po. And that's something easy to remember. Cachai. But the a lot of vocab that's just different. And I had a friend during my program when I was in Chile or abroad. It was called SIT, Students for International Travel. And she was from Ecuador. And she was like, I don't even know what they're saying. And my first language is Spanish. I was like, well, shoot, how am I supposed to know what they're saying? I don't know Spanish like that. But yeah, I went on that program, went abroad. I had learned Spanish and I didn't want to learn a new language. And so forgot my train of thought. What? Let's just soak nature for a minute while I get my thought together. Okay, so I didn't want to learn a new language, and so I went and looked at programs that were in Colombia, because that's where most of the options were. One was in Cartagena, Colombia, and the other was in Barranquilla. And ended up getting to the program in Cartagena. And so I got accepted. I went abroad, only supposed to stay a semester, and I was teaching English. And I was there for 5 years. So that's a whole other story that I'll get into, or I'll make another video about. But that's how I went to Colombia, and that's how I speak Spanish, and that's how my life shifted after that. Because I didn't go into the medical field after. I went into teaching. And that was a little bit about that shaped a little bit about, oh, I can't speak. It's cold. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna get my 10,000 steps. Maybe 5,000. I'll do run in place at home. But my Colombian experience shaped who I am today significantly. I would say believe in yourself. Believe in who you are. Don't doubt yourself, even though you will have those doubts. You know, we all grew up in a society where we believe certain perceptions, and the conditions in which we live under influence us and makes us think that we're less than, or we're not good enough, or we're not smart enough. And I just want to say, you are smart enough. You are good enough. Value yourself. Value your self-worth. You got to where you are today because you did that. You worked hard. You sought out help. You went to those study groups. You had conversations with certain individuals to keep going, to keep pushing. You had certain faith. You were just being you, and you were doing the best that you knew how, or you know how, if you're going through this right now. And yeah, that's what I would say. I would say that has been my journey. That was my journey. Going through high school, getting into the top high school in the United States, early college at Guilford, and then going to one of the top universities, public universities in the US. And no, I don't have a Duke UNC rival. Wherever you go to school, I love it. Take advantage of every opportunity you get. And my niece went to Duke, actually, for nursing. So I support all universities, all colleges, as long as it gets you what you need. shout out to Principal Burks, Tony Burks, for believing in yourself at the time to start a program like this. And I read your Facebook post the other day, and whatever it is that voice that you're hearing, that is motivating you, that is inspiring you, that's pushing you, keep doing what you're doing, because you believed in me. And I remember you asked me to speak for the graduation, and I was like, oh no, public speaking? No thank you. I did it. I was nervous. I remember I had to point out in the paper, it said point out to the crowd, or point to the section, and I remember that was cut out on our graduation video. But thank you for believing in me and giving me the opportunity to come out of my shell. Shy, introvert, young black boy from a small town in North Carolina, to broadening my horizons and becoming the person that I am today. Being a part of the first graduating class of early college at Guilford. So I would say I'm a part of that history. Oh, focus. There was a fence there. And it was poking out further than I expected. But being a part of history, I didn't start the 9th grade year, but I did finish with that graduating class. And so shout out to all my fellow classmates. I see things here and there on Facebook. You're all doing great things. You're all doing great things. Be great. Believe in yourself. You will have some self-doubt, but I would say that's normal. That's normal. Have someone in your corner that you can talk to. Have goals. Strive to achieve those goals. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. There may be some naysayers, but strive for whatever it is you want to strive for, because life is going to keep going whether we like it or not. Time never stops. Time never stops. It keeps going. In terms of careers, try to find something that will make you happy, that you enjoy doing, that pays well, but it doesn't always have to be about the money. I would recommend finding something that's not just about money, because you may 5, 10, 20 years down the line, you may get a job and you're making money, great money, but you're like, ugh, I'm miserable. This is not it. Have a lot of friends who tell me, oh yeah, I was working corporate, I was working in this and finance, and yeah, I just wasn't happy. And I was like, well, you know, everybody is different, but that would be one of my recommendations. Find something that you're passionate about and push yourself, challenge yourself. Don't believe in those stereotypes of you're not smart enough because you come from this area. You have to go to a school with a certain name to become successful. Strive for it if that's what you want to do. But if you don't end up getting into certain schools that are prestigious, maybe it wasn't meant for you. Maybe your mission was to be in a smaller school environment, more individualized, where the classes are almost like private tutoring. There are some schools like that. And you'll find your path. Don't give up on yourself, and keep striving to be great. I think that's everything. I'm sure I left something out. I didn't write anything down. I try to most of the time so I can keep my ideas focused. So I'll end it here. Ciao. Let me spin around and we'll end it.